She was the daughter of an Arab oil billionaire, raised in marble palaces and private jets. He was a poor mechanic with grease-stained hands and a heart of gold. Nobody expected what happened next would leave an entire city stunned. Yasmin Al-Rashid had grown up surrounded by marble floors, gold ceilings, and bodyguards who opened every door before she touched it. Her father, Sheikh Al-Rashid, built an oil empire stretching from Dubai to Houston, and Yasmin lived like royalty: private jets, designer wardrobes, a penthouse overlooking a city skyline she barely noticed anymore. That humid Houston afternoon began like any other, until her Lamborghini sputtered, coughed black smoke, and died in the middle of a busy intersection. Horns blared. Strangers stared. For the first time in years, Yasmin stood stranded on a sidewalk with no assistant, no driver, and no idea what to do next. She wandered 3 blocks in heels not meant for walking until she spotted a small, rusted sign: Cole's Auto Repair, squeezed between a laundromat and a taco truck. It looked nothing like the gleaming dealerships her family used. Paint peeled from the walls, tools hung crookedly, and the air smelled of oil and grilled tacos. Inside, a tall young man in a faded grey shirt knelt beside an old pickup, grease smudged across his forearms. Daniel Cole looked up when the door chimed, startled by the woman standing there, silk blouse, diamond earrings, clearly lost. "Car trouble?" he asked simply, wiping his hands on a rag. Yasmin nodded, oddly unsettled by how calm he seemed, how unimpressed by her designer clothes. Most men scrambled to please her. Daniel just gestured toward a worn bench and said he'd take a look. No flattery, no nervous chatter, just quiet confidence that made her curiosity, against a better judgment, stir. As Daniel worked beneath the hood, Yasmin watched him move with practiced ease, hands steady despite the heat. She asked questions about engines she'd never cared about before. He answered patiently, occasionally smiling at her genuine confusion, treating her not like a billionaire's daughter, but like an ordinary person worth talking to. An hour passed before the engine finally hummed back to life. Daniel wiped his hands and named a price far lower than she expected. Yasmin offered more. He refused, saying fair was fair. That small act of honesty struck her harder than any gift she'd ever received from wealthier men. Driving away, Yasmin glanced back at Cole's auto in her mirror, unable to shake the feeling that something inside her had shifted. She told herself it meant nothing, just a mechanic, just a car. But deep down, she already knew she'd find a reason to return to that small, humble garage again. In the weeks that followed, Yasmin found endless excuses to return to Cole's auto. An oil change she didn't need, tires that weren't actually flat, a strange noise that never existed. Daniel noticed but said nothing, simply welcoming her each time with her. Same quiet smile that had somehow become the best part of her week. Daniel began teaching her small things: how to check oil levels, how to identify a worn spark plug, how an engine actually worked beneath the polish which she'd never once opened herself. In return, Yasmin taught him something just as foreign to his world: how to laugh freely, without worrying about bills, deadlines, or tomorrow. Their conversations stretched longer each visit, drifting from cars to childhood memories, dreams neither had spoken aloud before. Yasmin admitted she'd never chosen anything in her life. Not her friends, not her future. Daniel admitted he'd never imagined someone like her could sit on his worn bench and actually mean it. It wasn't long before whispers reached Sheikh Al-Rashid's ears. His daughter, seen too often near a rundown garage on the wrong side of Houston. At first he dismissed it as gossip, but when a family driver confirmed the rumors, his expression hardened into something Yasmin had rarely seen directed at her. The confrontation came swiftly. Sheikh Al-Rashid summoned Yasmin into his study, voice shaking with disbelief and fury. He spoke of family honor, of suitors waiting in Dubai, of everything he had built that a mechanic could never match. He threatened to send her home immediately, ending whatever this was for good. Yasmin refused, and the argument was still unresolved when, that same stormy night, news arrived that the Sheikh's car had skidded off a rain-slicked highway and burst into flames. By chance, Daniel was driving nearby, recognized the wreck instantly, and ran straight into the fire without a second of hesitation. Daniel pulled the Sheikh free moments before the flames consumed the vehicle, carrying him to safety as rain poured down around them both. Lying in the hospital afterward, Sheikh Al-Rashid stared at the young mechanic's burned hands and finally understood that character could never be measured by a bank account. Months later, Houston's headlines told a story nobody had predicted: an oil tycoon's daughter marrying the mechanic who once fixed her car and saved her father's life. The wedding blended Texas warmth with Arabian splendor, and as guests watched the couple embrace, the whole city finally understood that real love had quietly rewritten every rule.